people. Welcome back to Narelle's talk, and we're going to be talking all things digital marketing for therapists, coaches, and anyone in the helping professions. So I'm going to hand it over to you now, Narelle. I'm going to take my vision off and let you speak.
Can you enable screen sharing?
Yes, absolutely. Good question. Yes, you should be right to go now.
Let's try again. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to go to that PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to share that. Now, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, and you can see the whole, is it just like coming up as just a slide, or can you see the whole PowerPoint?
You can see the whole PowerPoint, so go on slide share. Yeah.
There we go. Yep. Okay, we're good. So thanks for coming along tonight, those of you who have joined. So I'm going to talk Digital Marketing 101 for therapists, but more broadly about marketing and what's what in the marketing space. So at least when you're looking at marketing, you've got a little bit of a clue about what means what. There are, like a lot of industries, there's a lot of acronyms and a lot of things, and it evolves quickly. So it can be a bit daunting and confusing, particularly if you're new to it. So a little bit about me. Up until I was 30, I used to rebuild accounting and project management systems for a living. So I worked for companies like the South Australian Film Corporation, Logitech, Flinders Uni in Adelaide. I left that at 30 and decided to study remedial massage because natural therapies was something I was passionate about, and ended up studying polarity therapy, and of course working on bodies. People started telling me a lot of stuff, so I was trained as a counsellor as well. I then did a TAE and learnt a lot about social media, website building, and marketing generally, because I was running my own business, and in my own business I struggled to know how to get online. So I literally learnt because I had to, and then started doing some done for you services around social media, website management and coaching in that space, and moved my own business online. I left counselling probably about 4 or 5 years ago for personal reasons, and took up a digital account management role, and more recently I've started working with News Corp as a group digital manager. So I coach and train account managers in digital marketing. So that's a little bit about me and my background and how I got here and where I am. So I have a good understanding of where you guys might be as therapists, but I also have a really good understanding of what's available in the marketing space to you. And hopefully I can help marry that together for you. So I guess the question is, what is digital marketing? And I see it as any marketing, advertising or content that is delivered electronically and online in order to attract followers, clients and sales. There's a bit of a rule of thumb in digital marketing that says 80% of your content really should be about engaging with people and only 20% asking for the sale. Because that actually enables you in the online space to build relationships, the know, like and trust factor, which is so important in the online space, in getting people's attention and getting them to perhaps look at booking with you or engaging with your products and services. So where do you find digital marketing? So Google is obviously a big one. There are search engines like Bing, as well as Microsoft Edge, used to be Microsoft Explorer, but over 90% of search engine searches nowadays are done on Google. So that's usually the one that you want to certainly be getting in front of people on. Social media, so LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram are the biggies. Snapchat, TikTok are more emerging media. It depends on who your clients are, but if you're looking at a younger age demographic, they may certainly be something that might find you some clients as well. Websites and search engine optimization. So having a website, so that's like your digital home, is really important so people can find you, particularly in this industry. You're not a 24/7 locksmith where people are going to Google that and, click on the first Google ad they see in order to get, let into their house at 2 in the morning when they've locked themselves out. You're something that's going to be quite intimate, quite personal, and people are going to want to do some research around. so that they have that know, like, and trust factor and will engage with you. So getting your website found on Google, which is your search engine optimization, is actually super important in this industry. Google display advertising, which are image, like static images or video images dropped into articles, into other websites on the Google Display Network. So for example, news.com.au, you will, if you read a music article, you will definitely see ads on there. So that's a display advertising ad. Electronic mail is a form of digital marketing. So hopefully you're all collecting email addresses and utilising a service whereby you can actually email people regularly, using services like MailChimp, and there's plenty of others out there that actually deliver electronic digital marketing. Do get a higher deliverability rate than just emailing straight out of like Outlook or Gmail, and you're less likely to get flagged as spam. So there's plenty of free ones out there, so I'd seriously encourage you to look at those. Blogging, which happens on a website. You can also do video blogs and upload them on platforms like YouTube, and podcasting, of course. And for those who don't know, Renee and I are the brains trust behind the Shine Council podcast, which, because we've both been so busy, has been a bit quiet lately, but it's still up there if you ever want to go and check us out. So with digital marketing, why do it? You know, if you look at it against more traditional marketing, like the Yellow Pages, print media, traditional radio and TV advertising, one of the things that sets digital apart is it's highly trackable and reportable. So you don't get the wastage with your ad dollar spend like you might with other things. And I had a conversation just today about a woman that was running a Google Shop campaign versus outdoor billboards. The outdoor billboards, you have no idea how much traffic's going past, and of that traffic, how much is looking at it. Generally, people driving past an outside billboard are concentrating on driving, so how engaged are they going to be, even if they do see it? So the beautiful thing about digital is it's highly trackable, and you can report on results, which gives you the ability to tweak it and change it as you need so that you can get better and improving results. You can narrow your targeting down. So again, reduces waste of money spending of your marketing. So if you're looking for a particular age demographic, if you're looking for people with certain interests, if you're looking for males versus females, if you're looking in a certain geographical area, all of these things can be targeted with digital marketing. So the people that see your ads are likely to engage with your ads because they fit certain demographic and sociographic and geographic properties. So that again helps reduce, you know, the cost per lead basically to your business. Almost everyone hangs out somewhere on the internet. There's not too many people that don't have Facebook these days. Facebook has about 40,000 data points on every single person that has a profile. So, you know, from a point of view of tracking, that's actually really good to know, because again, it helps narrow that marketing focus down. But you know, even, you know, my parents hang out on Facebook, so everyone generally is there, but there will be other places on the internet that your ideal client is going to hang out as well. And it's important to know where that is in terms of your targeting, but what's more important is chances are they are on the internet in the first place, which is why you should consider digital marketing as part of your marketing strategy. And compared to traditional media, it can be very cost effective. So I work out of a masthead here in Townsville, the Townsville Bulletin, and the print side of things, to buy a full page advertisement in the newspaper, you're still looking at about $7,000. So what I can do with a $7,000 spend is a lot more in the digital space than I can ever do in the paper. And again, it comes back to the paper is not necessarily trackable. You'll know who the readership is, roughly the numbers, but that's about it. That's about as targeted as it gets. So I think there's 4 really good reasons why you should be considering your digital marketing in that list there. So I've just put some little factoids here, and you know, this is just really Google centric. So 68% of all ad spend is display, 94%, I think I said earlier, over 90% of all search traffic is on Google. It's up around 94%. The average Australian spends 5.5 hours a day online, and 96% of those people will leave a website with no action. So being able to retarget people, dropping pixels on websites. So when people engage with your website, you can then follow them around the internet and perhaps serve ads to them on a platform like Facebook or Google Ads is actually really helpful in terms of converting customers. Only 15% of businesses actually use Google Ads. So for you, that's actually a really good opportunity, particularly if you're in a competitive market and getting organic traction is difficult with your website. So if you're not turning up on the first page of Google in a search, ideally in those first 3 spots, seriously consider looking at Google Ads as an option. 9 out of 10 Australians expect to be able to call your business from a Google search page. So if you do Google Ads, always make sure there's a click to call link there for people. Every day, 25% of search terms are novel terms. And an example of that, one that's come out probably in the last couple of years, is the near me search. So I might look for pizza bar near me rather than putting a suburb in. So it's worth keeping an eye out for some of these novel terms because they might actually feed to a niche that you actually work in. If your website takes more than 3 seconds to load, expect a high abandonment rate. People are really impatient. That's rather unfortunate. I don't fit into that category, but most people do. And we know if people are searching on their mobile phones, they will visit or contact the business within 24 hours. So we need to make it easy. We need to put maps in there if we're, not working in the online space and we actually have bricks and mortar set up. So there's just a few Google facts to support why you should consider digital marketing. So I'm just going to do a bit of a whip through now what each type of advertising looks like. So firstly, Google advertising. So search engine marketing, which is abbreviated to SEM, and they are generally text ads. So you see them at the top of the Google search page. Sometimes you see them in Gmail inboxes in the promotions tab. Quite often you'll see a couple of emails sitting at the top there that aren't really emails, they're just ads. YouTube, it can be a video ad that runs before a video you're wanting to watch plays, or sometimes you'll see text ads overlaid on videos. And even Google My Business. And if you don't have Google My Business, definitely get it. It's a free Google business listing. You can actually, if you connect that up to your Google My Business with your Google Ad account and enable location services, because you've got a bricks and mortar premises, you can actually drop ads in those Google My Business map listings now. So that can be a really good strategy too, particularly if you're looking for people through a location-based search, meaning that you're looking for people to come to a bricks and mortar premises. Does that make sense to everyone? I can't actually see any of you, so I'm assuming it will, and perhaps I'll check in with you and you can ask questions after. So a search engine result page, this is what it looks like. So up the top, you'll have your ad spots, and quite often there'll be a map slot after the ad. So there'll be the map and a few map listings of the local businesses. Then you'll have what's called your organic search results. So in terms of that anatomy, the national average click-through rate for Google Ads is about 2%, and that's across all industries. I typically set up campaigns and we might, get 10, 15% click-through, depending on the industry and how competitive it is. I certainly don't see any dip below 2 or 3% as a general rule in my role at News Corp. So they're, worth considering. We do know the first 3 organic listings by far and away are the most clicked though. So in terms of that page anatomy, that's ideally where you want to be. The click-through on Google Maps is about 20% on a desktop, and I'm not certain what the stat is on a mobile, but I imagine it'd be fairly similar. So we've just talked then about those Google My Business ads. So within a Google Maps listing, you'll see the little purple ad box that sits next to the reviews. That is a Google ad. So that means that company Quality Small Check are targeting certain keywords along with certain locations. And so that's a location extension that enables them to do that and drop their ads into that locality search. So again, if you've got a business where you are bricks and mortar and you want people to come to you, this is actually a really good way to get in front of people, because people do look at those map listings quite often. Certainly more in terms of the Google ad space, I imagine it'd be more effective than a straight Google ad for this industry. Gmail ads, so that's what they look like there. They sit in the promotions, and you can click through and delete them, but they're ads that are served. So Nespresso and Capital One UK, we're actually paying for ads to go into email boxes, and they will pay per click if someone actually clicks on those ads. And YouTube ads, as I mentioned, that can be a text box overlaid, or it can be a video that rolls before the video that you're watching plays. So moving on to Google display advertising. So these are image ads that can be placed on any of Google's extensive network of whitelisted sites. Whitelisted sites are basically websites that are brand safe for businesses to advertise on. So you won't find anything on the dark web, you won't find any porn sites or things like that. You know, your ads turning up on those sorts of sites, which ideally you don't want. They're brand safe business websites, and the ads are targeted to an audience demographic, not to the site itself. So I could load news.com.au and see a certain set of ads. You might load news.com.au and see a different set of ads, because you'll be targeted with advertising based on all of the data points that have been collected on you by Facebook and Google, as well as other agencies. So I know in my role at News Corp, we actually buy a lot of third-party data around, you know, what are people putting in their shopping cart. So we know from a Woolies shopping basket, you know, if someone's buying X, Y, and Z, they will probably be a male or a female of a certain age. Chances are they've got children or they don't have children. You can target to a very, very detailed level now. So, yeah, so all of those ads will be targeted to that detailed level of who you're looking for. These are really helpful at the awareness end of the sales process, generally speaking, in terms of display. So it's generally sold as a cost per impression. So you buy per 1,000 impressions. The click-through rate is about 0.05% national average. Again, that can vary depending on industry and where you are, and how, you know, well you've done with your targeting, and how good a call to action you've got on the ad, and how engaging the creative is. So there's a lot of factors that influence that, but that's about a rough statistic for you. So a display ad, to give you an example, this is a screenshot of the Daily Telegraph, and you can see that banner ad at the top, new device repair, car scratch. That is a display ad. You'll also find leaderboard ads that run down the side of that page, and square ads that are dropped, you know, within the body of the content of that page. They are all display ads. So that's what they appear like. Facebook, which I think is going to be a really useful platform for a lot of you in the therapy, healing arts, helping profession. So what I've actually done is just a little bit of a rundown on boosted ads versus sponsored ads, because I see a lot of businesses and individuals just boosting a post because it's quick and easy. So it is the quick and dirty fix, but it's not terribly flexible. Sponsored ads is where you get into Ad Manager, you actually set up a proper ad campaign, and you can then have a whole lot more control over your targeting, your spend, and creative content, and among other things. So Renee's got this slide deck. So if you would like this, feel free to get in touch and she can email it out to you. So in terms of who you can target with a boosted ad, it's very preset. So it's people who like your page, people who like your page and their friends, or people in your local area. So you can select a radius up to 50 miles. In terms of, if you create an audience, you can also choose gender, age, some basic demographic and interest and behaviours, so how they behave online. So if you're looking to post to a broad audience with not much targeting, that might be okay. With a Facebook ad, options are pretty much endless in terms of the main targeting, but you can customise audiences from your website, from your customer list, from your email database, app activity, offline activity. You can target anyone who's interacted with your Facebook page or elements on your page, like a video, and you can also create lookalike audiences. So what you can do is say to Facebook, look, my retargeting pixel has has lifted these demographic points from these people that have visited my website. And what I want to do is create an audience of 1,000 more of these people that match those demographic touch points or data points that have been lifted. So if you've got, say, 500 people that visited your website, but you want to put ads in front of 5,000, Facebook can actually create a lookalike audience off of those data points and help you market to those people. So that's actually really powerful when you sit back and think about that, because that means you've had no other engagement with those people other than they fit certain data point characteristics. In terms of what objectives can you choose? With a boosted post, engagement. So get people to react, comment and share. You can ask people to send you a message, or you can ask people to click on your link, so driving people to your website. So it's fairly basic. With a proper ad set up in Ad Manager, you can aim for awareness, so brand awareness and reach, consideration, which is traffic, engagement, app installs, video views, lead generations and messages. So there's a whole lot more things that you can do there. You can also ask for conversions. So if you have an online store or catalog sales, or maybe you're selling an e-deliver product, so like an ebook or some online training that's evergreen and it doesn't require your involvement in the sales process, you might choose to set a conversion goal in Facebook. So that means people actually go to a shopping cart, make a purchase, and it's considered a conversion when they hit a thank you page. So there would be a tag on the thank you page that would fire when people hit that page, so it would track as a conversion. So if you're selling anything online, that's actually a really good goal to consider looking at. So again, you'd need to be in Facebook Ad Manager to do that, not just hitting the boost button on a post. So in terms of where your ads are seen, so with a boosted post, it's just straight up in the newsfeed, Instagram or Facebook Messenger. Once you boost a post, you can't edit the creative and you can't edit the budget. So pretty much it's a set and forget type of thing. So if you decide to do it and it's not working out well, you're kind of stuck with it. Whereas with campaign ads, you create ads through Ad Manager, you can select the exact placements where your ads will show on Facebook, Instagram and Messenger. It gives you a whole lot more control. Ads can also be shown in feeds, stories, in-stream, search, Messenger, in article and apps. The budget is flexible, so you can change that on the fly, and the content is also editable, so you can change that on the fly. So you might find that you're split testing some ads and one's working really well and the other one isn't. So the one that isn't, you might want to change the creative or the text on the ad just to see if it does a bit better. Ad Manager will allow you to do this, whereas a boosted post won't. I'd only ever consider a boosted post if you actually see a huge amount of organic engagement on a post. And like I said, if you're targeting a really broad audience and you're really happy just to set and forget. So when deciding which one to go with, you may want to consider what your goals actually are. If the goal is to increase engagement on Facebook and it's a really broad audience, then boosting a post from your wall can be a good option. It's quick, it's easy. If the goal is more about lead generation, website traffic focus, taking the time to set it up is actually worth it in the end. And I know it can be very frustrating and it can be tedious, but it will be worth it. Budget constraints and editing flexibility requirements should also be considered. Again, I would only ever really look at boosting a post if it got really good organic engagement and you know that, you know, people will engage with it. Otherwise, I would go with Ad Manager if it were me personally. So some of the other social platforms around there, Instagram sits in the Facebook Ad Manager now. You don't need an Instagram account to advertise on Instagram. Your ads will just get dropped in the Instagram feed. So that's a good news thing for a lot of people who don't like sitting on social media all day. You don't need to with Instagram. You can just drive traffic back to your website. LinkedIn is another great place for therapists to be advertising. Twitter has been around. It's probably one of the earlier social platforms. Snapchat, and as I mentioned earlier, TikTok. If you're targeting a younger demographic, you may find them really helpful to look at those platforms as well. So the biggie for therapists, and I always come back to this, is a good website, and good SEO. So a website is central to any digital strategy. So you can't run a Google Ads campaign unless you have a website to drive traffic to, and the ads need to be relevant to the content that's on the website. Websites that are clicked on organically are better quality clicks. SEO will help increase your Google ranking. So there's a lot of different things you can do with SEO to help, boost your ranking. We know the majority of Google searches will click on an organic listing. That's about 3/4 of them. On page 1 will click the organic links, not the ads and not the maps. So it's super, super important, particularly for therapists, to have a good website that loads quickly, that's mobile responsive, and has an SSL layer. In terms of SEO, create content your potential customers are going to want to engage with. If people jump on your site and they jump off really quickly and they don't spend much time on your site, that tells Google that your site's not very interesting. If people jump on your site and then don't look at other pages and so jump straight off your site again, that's called a bounce rate. So if it happens all of the time, it's 100% bounce rate. If 3/4 of your customers, or say, 3/4, your bounce rate will be 75%. If 25% go on to look at other pages on your site. So engaging sites Google does look at. So creating content that interests people is super important. Recycling content across platforms. Be really careful about copying things by rote, but you may write a really good blog and you may take snippets of that and use that on Facebook. I always encourage people to share their website on Facebook as much as they can, because that provides backlinking, which helps your SEO profile as well. Brand everything. Brand consistency is really important. So if the imagery someone sees on a social media platform or a display ad doesn't match up with your website or the content on your website, it's quite disjointed. And again, when you're looking for that know, like, and trust factor with people that don't know who you are, that will provide them a whole lot of unconscious reasons to distrust you if there's not consistency with your branding. So brand everything and do it consistently. And deep website links in your content and sharing. So I'm sure all of you have read blogs at times where there's backlinks within a blog to another blog on the site. So they may be talking about something and I've written more in detail about this here, and it'll provide a backlink. Or it might provide a backlink to another website that's got more specialized information in that area. Backlinks, Google love, because what that tells Google is there's trust relationships between you and other websites on the internet, and therefore they should trust you more too. So some of the trends in 2020 that I've seen is social media optimization. More and more social media is being used as a search engine. So people jump on the search bar in Facebook and type in the search terms they're looking for. So making sure your social media is actually optimized with keywords that people might use can be helpful in attracting them on those platforms. So it's a really good exercise to try and get in the head of your ideal customer and understand what they're typing into Google. I've often recommended people survey their customers or their clients around, if you're looking for me, what would you type into Google? Another really good way to get some information about keywords is to jump onto Google Keyword Planner, or there's a site called Ubersuggest that's run by Neil Patel, and it can give you some keyword ideas. So you can put your website link in there, or you can actually just put in some keywords that are relevant, and it will come up with a whole list of different, possibilities and what the search volume is like. So if you're then going to run Google ads or things like that, or you're building your website with SEO in mind, using those words in your heading tags and in your text can really help build your SEO traction. I digress. The other big one I've seen this year is YouTube. It is the second biggest search engine in the world with 3 billion monthly searches. So again, I would encourage everyone to have a YouTube channel and get some video content up there. And I know that's a struggle for a lot of people. They don't like talking on video. And to be honest, I'm one of them, but I've also learned that you have to do it. So just getting in there, practice, doing selfie videos on your phone, even if you don't publish them. I would encourage you, just do one a day and just get used to seeing yourself on camera until you're actually comfortable with it and can post it. So I know Renee's got a couple of private groups on Facebook, and that might be a really good place to start putting some, video content of you talking in a relatively safe environment while you experiment with it and learn how it all works. So that's a couple of trends this year that I've seen. So thank you for coming along. I know I've whizzed through that really quickly because I did want to leave a little bit of time for questions, given I'm not running a masterclass. You can reach me, Narelle Wallace at Gmail. There's my number. My Facebook page, Narelle Wallace Coaching, is actually sitting there dormant at the moment because I'm working in the corporate space. It's a conflict of interest for me, but it is sitting there. So you can find me on Facebook and reach out to me that way, but email and phone is just fine as well. So whatever best suits you. So I'm going to jump out of here and I'm going to stop sharing and throw it out to you guys. So were there any questions on any of that? Oh my God, the chat box has gone mad. Okay.
Thanks, Narelle. I'm going to put it over to everyone. I've got a couple of things that I think might be good questions, but I thought I'd throw it out to everyone else first.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, hi Nancy.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. It was really interesting. I think I've learned so much already. I was just wondering if you could explain or go into a little bit more detail by what you mean by social media optimization.
Did you say social media optimization? So that's actually using keywords and optimizing your social media profiles to be found. So when people are actually in that search bar on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever social platform it is, that your page does come up. So using keywords, if you're a therapist and you want to work with people with anxiety, make sure you talk a lot about anxiety. You put posts up about that, or that word can be in your business name. I don't know if you've ever done a search on Facebook, but have a play with it because it'll give you a whole lot of results, and then you can sort of scroll across tabs and, are you looking for people, posts, pages, groups, or whatever with that keyword in it. But the initial search will give you everything with the most relevant match, first of all. So if you're a counsellor and you want to deal with people in the gay and lesbian community, make sure you write stuff about that, because that's probably what someone that needs a counsellor that's looking for help with those issues is going to put in to that Facebook search bar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just curious, are you talking more about posting in Facebook groups or posting on your own business page?
I'm talking about posting on your own business page, first of all. A lot of Facebook groups are private, so those search results may not come up to people that aren't known to you or in groups that you're in. So I definitely would recommend your own page first and foremost. Within groups, so people will search within groups as well. So both are useful, but first and foremost, your own business page.
Okay. And do you recommend using hashtags, or is it just about posting more content with those words that people will be searching?
I would say both, to be honest with you. So hashtags are a great little filing system as well, so people can click a hashtag, but people may go, unless people are typing a hashtag into that search bar, a hashtag won't actually help them find you.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much. That helps a lot.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Narelle a couple of questions that I guess I used to kind of have in my mind, because sometimes what can happen, I think, Narelle, is people can kind of have this perspective of, oh, I shouldn't go there, it's not very ethical, my association says I probably shouldn't. These were the things that were going through my mind like 8 years ago before I got on social media. And I wanted to put it out there for everyone here that the biggest way that I built my business was through social media. And I just wanted to kind of get your take on that, Narelle, just to maybe talk to that for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, okay. So I guess there's probably a few different areas within that broader topic that should be discussed. Obviously, having a social media profile and a business page isn't a bad thing because people are going to look for you there. In terms of ethics, you may be mindful about what you share personally on your business page. You know, certainly in the counselling and psychotherapy space, I know there's sometimes some ethical issues with that. However, people do connect with story as well. So where your boundaries sit with that's entirely up to you. However, not being there means you likely won't be found because that's where people are looking. In terms of retargeting, with a business page, you can generate a Facebook pixel, drop it on the back of your website. And so when people go to your website, that pixel fires, lifts data points from the person, and then enables you to retarget them. So they would then get served Facebook ads, or they may be retargeted on other areas of the internet as well. Now, in terms of privacy, that pixel doesn't lift private data. It doesn't lift sensitive data. It lifts demographic data points. They are not making that person identifiable as a human being. It's making them identifiable basically as an IP address. So in that sense, again, you're in a market where pretty much everybody is doing it. That is how marketing is done in the digital space these days. So I personally don't have a problem with it. I don't have any ethical issues with it. But I'd encourage you just to consider that you're not actually taking anyone's private data. You're just using a marketing strategy that is perfectly legal. And, you know, some will argue not ethical, but at the same time, you know, anyone with a mobile phone device and a Facebook thing on it that goes to a website can say, I don't want cookies tracked on my phone. So if the end user is actually concerned about their privacy, they have the ability to turn off cookies and things like that so those pixels don't fire. Just as you guys also have the ability to not be tracked on the internet by turning off cookies and limiting the data points that are collected on you. So does that answer your question, Renee?
Yeah, I guess it's interesting just talking about pixels because I've actively chosen not to do pixels just for now, particularly related to my counselling practice. And I think it's all about how we perceive counselling. And I think based in the long-term psychotherapy space, we don't want to be prying on people and like, I feel like it's almost like nabbing them. And that's an ethical thing rather than a necessarily a legal or whatever, you know. And I think what I've decided to do was go more with advertising, marketing, and getting myself out there so that then my feeling was about I want the person to choose me rather than almost have the choice taken away from them if it's followed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying, and I know we've talked about this a lot. The flip side of it is, and again, there's two sides to every story, at least, usually more than that. But the flip side from a marketing point of view is I might jump on Google and look up psychotherapists near me because I need therapy. I might start looking at a few different websites, and then I might get distracted because kitchen's burning, the kids are screaming, oh crap, I've got to go to work, or my lunch break's up, or whatever. And I shut that browser down and go, shit, I need to come back to that later. Meanwhile, the websites that have got pixels that fire because you visited them may then tomorrow put an ad in front of you to remind you that you were looking for psychotherapists, and you go, that's right, I was looking at that guy's website and yeah, I thought he was good. I might actually just go back and have another look and maybe book an appointment or decide against him. So there's two ways of looking at that. One is obviously the ethical, and I totally understand it. The other is, you know, just simply by the fact that, you know, people are time poor and they jump off websites. Statistically, 96% of people will leave a website without taking an action. And it's not I don't think that's necessarily a choose you, not choose you argument. I think that's often a time argument, or not ready to make a decision yet argument. So yeah, look, as I said, there's no right or wrong in it, and I see both points of view. So it's entirely up to you as a therapist what you're comfortable with. So yeah, does that make sense?
Absolutely, because I've just always had the issue of I actively don't want to encourage, almost like, I saw it in a way a bit like stalker-like behaviour, even though it's, you know, legal and it's all being done by lots of companies, but it's like you're being tracked and you're being followed, and that to me feels insidious. But that's just me. And so I want people to actively go, hey, I liked her website, and then they might find me on Google, they might find me elsewhere. You know, it's a bit like then they will still find me. Yeah. And the thing about therapy, and this has kind of always been in the ethics kind of side of things, is it's like when the student's ready, the teacher appears. It shouldn't be smacked in your face kind of thing. And that's the difference between, say, what I do with therapy versus what I do with my training business. My training business is a hell of a lot different. It's then, you know, you can plug that a lot more. I hope that kind of makes sense. That's
it does, and I totally understand. You know, again, I know we've talked about this a lot, and where those lines are, and it is very blurry in this industry, and I think it comes down to your own personal boundaries as a therapist and your own views around that stuff. So yeah, absolutely understand.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Just interested in your perspectives on this. I don't currently have a website. I've basically got social media presence, and that's the only online presence that I actually have. I have had websites in the past that I felt were very, very ineffective, were not producing any kind of return on investment at all, and were basically sucking up huge amounts of time to maintain. So I'm just kind of wondering, what's your perspective on staying away from a website or not having a website?
Okay. Yep. It depends on who your clients are and how they're finding you, would be my first commentary on that. If your clients are likely to be Googling, then there's certainly some value in having a website. If you're busy enough without one, then I think that's an answer in and of itself. So it really comes down to what works for you. But if you want to put together a digital strategy, you can't run a Google ad or a Google display ad or a YouTube ad or any of those ads without a website to drive traffic to.
Yep.
Facebook ads, I think you can. Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you can. So it'd be a messenger link, or download an app, or download something. Look, if you're busy enough, I'd say whatever you're doing is working. If you're wanting to grow your business, then I'd say it's worth considering, particularly in this day and age, because most people will actually Google stalk people before they make a buying decision.
Yeah.
And in fact, they've generally made a buying decision before they've picked up the phone. The picking up the phone is just the confirmation of that.
Right. And I guess one of the things then is like, if you're going to set up a website, what are the considerations? I mean, you talked about SEO and so on. I mean, I've tried building websites on my own. I'm not a web designer, so it's like I have no idea if it was my issue with that. I've got web designers to design it, but they don't understand my business, and so I end up with these things on the website that are just like, well, I don't know why it's there, and I don't know how to maintain it, and it seems to be pushing a particular approach that doesn't resonate with me at all, and that seems to present me in a way that I'm not okay with. So it's like, how do you choose a good web designer? How do you?
Yeah. So
I think Narelle and I could both talk to this one.
Yeah.
So
a couple of questions just for clarification. Is it the content writing itself that you're not happy with, or is it elements of the website and the design side of it that you're not happy with?
I think the content was stuff that I was producing. So it's like there were probably things that I didn't know about what I needed to do with content. But I think a lot of it was just about setting up the website and not even really knowing what I needed. And so website designers will sit there and say, oh, well, you should probably have this. And it's like, well, okay, if you say so, you should know. But actually they don't, because they don't understand business, and they don't ask enough questions about my business to work out what the website's going to be used for. And end up with things on the website that is like, well, I mean, it would be nice to have an online booking thing, but that was never offered. And it's just like,
so one of the things I always encourage people to do, whether it was back in the days when I was building websites myself, or nowadays, you know, when I sell them or my reps sell them, I'm very big on doing a brief. And part of that process for me is always to say to a client, get online and find some websites you like and tell me what you like about them. So if a web designer is not asking you that question, that might be just a tip for you to give them that information. Some website designers are interested in design, some are more tech heads, so that they're not necessarily good at thinking in terms of marketing or design or communication. They're technically skilled. So in terms of choosing a website designer, I guess it's almost like an interview process, you know, and I would just make sure at the briefing end of it, are they asking you those questions? Can you give them a bunch of websites and say, look, I really like this one, you know, it's got this slider thing I like, and that one's got a book now button, and that one's got a live chat box, and, you know, that one's got, you know, a certain layout that I really like. Because I think if a designer can see that, in my experience, they can kind of go, yep, I know how to kind of replicate those elements and pull it together for you. So it's about you considering what you'd like your website to do for you. So the question for you is, what is the purpose of the website? What do you want it to be doing for you? Do you want it to take bookings? Do you want it to take emails? What are the conversion points for people?
Yep, and I think that's when I was first getting a website together. I mean, you're sitting there getting pressure to say you must have a website, you must have a website, you must have a website, but it's just like, well, what do I need to have on it? And I mean, some people will say you must have a blog, some people you must have an online booking system, some people will say this, that, and the other. And it's just like, well, what is going to work for me, and what's not going to cost me the earth to actually have it set up? And so it's a bit of a minefield when you don't know what you're working with. And it's just kind of like, well, what are the questions to ask? It's almost like it would be nice to sit there and say, looking at other websites is useful, but to a point, there's a case of like, well, I don't want to replicate their website. So how do I make it uniquely mine, but also include all the elements in it that are the functional parts of the website that I need to have?
Narelle, do you mind if I just kind of add a comment, adding on to what you're saying?
Yeah, sure.
Just to almost to your question, Neville. I think this is the thing in the therapy biz. There are so many variants on what could be considered normal on a website that there's no real standards. What has really, really worked for me over the last few years is to get SEO right and to have an online booking system. It's as simple as that. And make it easy, accessible, and make yourself easy and accessible. And then people are more likely to book in, even a free chat. The free chat is my most popular thing that happens to me. And then half of those would end up as clients.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'd certainly agree with all of that. So, and the SEO piece I was going to speak to, if you're doing your own copywriting, there are some guidelines around, you know, SEO for copywriting. So using keywords that people are going to be looking for on Google within the content, using those words in the heading tags on a web page will help Google crawlers index your site. So writing with SEO in mind is actually really super important. Getting the other SEO pieces right. So user experience is super important. Mobile optimization and SSL layer. Having the online booking system. There are some great, there are some not so great out there, and that's just going to come down to doing a little bit of research around, you know, what suits you. I think Rodney does one. there's, you know, Calendly, Acuity, Book Like a Bot. There's a whole lot of different programs out there. It's about what do you want it to do for you? Do you want it to take a booking only? Do you want it to take a booking and money? Do you want it to be able to sell places in a group scenario, so you can sell up to 5 places into the one appointment? Or do you just want to sell one-on-one services? Do you want to sell things that are delivered electronically and not in person? So it doesn't need to be linked to a calendar, but it needs to be able to take payment and deliver something. All of these things is you working out what is the purpose of each of these elements to you. So that might be something you might want to consider getting some coaching around, or even just simply sitting with and you know, contemplating, okay, so what is the purpose of a website for me? What do I want it to do? What do I want to get out of it? Okay, so if I want to get this, if I want to get more bookings out of my website, okay, how can I do that? I can look at online booking systems. I can look at, you know, contact forms. I can look at a click to call button so people can easily ring me from their mobile phones. And looking at each of those elements, how will that work for me? How will that serve me? What do I want it to do? A click to call button is really simple. However, a booking system is not necessarily simple. That, again, you're probably going to need to go down the rabbit hole with that and go, okay, so what do I want to take bookings for? And go through all of those questions, and then find a product that's going to match your need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess I mean, it makes sense, and at the same time it's overwhelming, because it's like that this is not my sphere. It's
Yeah.
how do you actually walk through these questions and make sure that you actually get them to be answered in a way that's satisfactory for me. And so when there is so much information to wade through.
Okay,
Yep.
so there's a couple of questions, Narelle, and I feel like I can even talk to Neville's question at the same time as Julie's question. Okay, so I don't know if Narelle actually knows this, but in my textbook, I actually talk to this, exactly this. And so I think it's really important that we have a number of different choices in mind, things that actually are going to work as therapists. The issue with some of the booking apps on the market is many of them are for, you know, businesses. They're for maybe coaches. They might be for you know, maybe even psychology or doctors or other things like this that don't necessarily, like, number of therapists I've spoken to say, I don't want the Medicare you know, provider numbers and all this other kind of rubbish like that Halaxy's got, for example. And I've actually stayed away from Halaxy for that kind of reason. So Halaxy can be used for free, for example, but it has much more Medicare bent, and then it can connect to things like CoView and what have you, like, which is a video conferencing app. But I've ended up going with one called Setmore, and it's still good. And they're now doing a lot more backlinking and API links. If you want to know about all that kind of tech stuff, maybe talk to me another time. But essentially, you can connect lots of different apps within Setmore to, you know, you can connect Xero, you can connect, you know, basically your accounting system can connect with your booking system and all sorts of things like that. So Setmore can be used for free. Yeah, there's not many apps on that note, Rodney, that are Australian based. Power Diary, a lot of people have a lot of favor for at the moment, because you can do things like note taking as well. So in Power Diary, you can almost like have an all-in-one, but you can even have your video conferencing and your all-in-one. I think there's a couple others, like say Core Plus is a reasonable one as well, and Yanni, who came to the previous conference, runs Core Plus. That I believe can be used for free at the start, but then if you want a lot of different add-ons and all that, it starts costing you money. So I guess it depends on, it's very much, every single booking app is very different in the layout of it. I've stuck with Setmore because I'm into like having nice pictures, pretty things, like, because then the clients go, oh wow, I've booked with her, that looks good, I feel good about this. I want a feel good thing to come across with my clients, rather than just you've booked now and that's it, and then almost like nothing more. So I think that's probably what I'd say on that. I hope that helps, Neville, to answer your question.
Thank you.
And I hope it answers Julie's too, because there was 2 questions almost at once that were pretty much the same thing. And sorry, Narelle.
No, that's fine. And you've obviously used Setmore, so you can speak to that experience. I've used different apps. So yeah, look, again, it just comes down to what do you want it to do. As Renee said, she likes that feel-good feeling that people get when they use Setmore. It obviously ticks all the boxes in terms of logistically what it can do. So that's what she's gone with. So it's just a little bit of time researching the different apps out there and working out one that's going to suit you and what you need it to do for you. I'm really conscious of time. I've got like 1 minute left. So I just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining and listening in. And you've got my contact details. If you would like to reach out and or had any further questions, feel free to get in touch. I'm not running a masterclass at this conference, so that's why I left that little bit of extra time today for questions, and hopefully they're answered for you. But yeah, if not, give us a yell.
Thanks heaps, Narelle, and thank you for allowing me to comment.
No, that's okay. You and I get on a video call or a phone call or a video, anything. It's a yap fest, according to Renee's husband. It's
my husband regularly says yap fest. It's very hilarious. There's always something to talk about. So just if anyone wants to contact Narelle, you can contact her through her contact details she put up before. But also, Narelle's very friendly, and you can ask her questions. And she is a therapist too, so she understands like what you guys are going through, and all that kind of jazz. So yeah,
and I'm actually looking at jumping ship and going back to full-time coaching in private practice myself next year. So I absolutely kind of understand the space that you're in and where you might be at. So yeah, feel free to reach out any stage. I need to jump off now because
thank you.
I'm moonlighting in my other coaching practice, so I need to keep moving. I work full time, I study, and I'm moonlighting, so I'm a busy girl at the moment.
The beauty of home Zoom conferencing.
Oh, bless it! I tell you what.
Yeah,
it's good.
Excellent. Thank you,
everyone. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Narelle.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.